Over the past few years, we have made several hundred videos on this channel, on Instagram, we've done brand partner videos, and we've done courses. And over doing all of those, we've had so many people ask time and time again, how do you actually film your tutorials? How do you write your tutorials? How planned are your tutorials? How are you getting the audio and video from your DAW? And how are you getting the audio and video from your camera and from your mic and syncing those up? And so we wanted to make a video where we show our entire editing process of how we write a video, how we record and film a video, how we take those files and edit them together. And by the end of this video, you should have a pretty good in-depth look of what we're doing for our videos, what gear we're using for our videos, what the steps and techniques are for actually creating the videos, and some of the methods that we use to make sure that we've kind of systemized them so we can afford the time to do a video every single week. So if you do like this tutorial on making tutorials, let us know in the comments below. This has been wildly requested over the past several years, so I'm glad we're finally able to make it. If you like this video, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to check out our actual production tutorials, check out our channel because we have a bunch of stuff that's not like this at all. And then other than that, if you want to support our channel, you can head over to Make Pop Music after the video and check out all of our cool stuff over there. Sample packs, preset packs, courses. We've got a ton of free content over there for you. We have a podcast now, so definitely make sure you head over there after this tutorial. But I'm hoping that this tutorial on making tutorials can inspire some of you to start your own channel. But let's jump in and let's check out the process of creating these. Every week that we are creating a video, we typically go into that creation process knowing what we want to do. Miranda and I will both kind of create a running list of topics that we need to cover on the channel, topics that maybe we haven't covered before, or maybe we want to cover again and kind of expand upon, or we will take feedback from like YouTube comments, Instagram comments, polls that we do, and we'll see what people want to see. And typically what we'll do every week is we'll pull from that list, and then I'll just come up with whatever video I feel like making. And once I've decided the topic, then it's all about finding an example that we can use for that video. So sometimes I'm using songs that I've created from scratch for that video. Sometimes I'm using songs that I've produced for artists that highlight a lot of things that we're going to do within that video. And sometimes it's kind of a mix of both, where I take a song that I might have sitting and then I just make a couple tweaks to it, and that's what I end up highlighting. So that's kind of how we pick a topic and prep a session for that, and that's how we find out what we're going to use as the example. And then once we've done that, I like to go in and I like to make kind of a running list of everything that we're going to want to talk about and in the exact order of how we're going to want to talk about it. So let's take our last video that we did, for example, how to make sad trap pop. For that video, I knew that we were going to be using Montclair by Riley, so I opened that session, and then all I did was rename that session, so if I needed to go back to his for any kind of revisions or files, it wasn't going to have anything that we tweak in the tutorial. And then I made sure that all of my naming and organization was going to be conducive to how I wanted to show that project. And then what I do, once I have the example kind of laid out and organized in my session, I'll go and I'll make notes on something like Google Documents or notes on my phone. And this is where I'll make like a bulleted list of what I want to talk about and what order I want to talk about it. So for that video, I knew, okay, first I want to go ahead and cover the main keys and chords because that's the foundation of the song. And then let's take a look at the lead pluck because that's a pretty important element. And then I wanted to add some rhythm, so I had us drag in the kick and snare. And that's typically how we'll figure out what order everything's coming in a tutorial if it's not something that I'm just naturally creating on the spot. And the reason I do this is because I'll skip things if I don't write them down, or I'll talk about things twice, or I'll give them in an order that's just not really that helpful. And I decide the order on this just kind of based on how I naturally create. So every time that I'm making a song, I remember what I start with. I remember the exact order of how we go for the completed version. So even if I'm covering something that was done ahead of time, it's always in the typical order of how I created it in the first place. So that's kind of how I will write my show notes. And what I'll do is I'll just color code things based on like chapters that I want to talk about in that video. And then here's another one that we did that's kind of a different format. This was 7 types of ear candy. So for this example, I just found a song that had some ear candy that I wanted to discuss. And then I went through that song and I listened to things that I thought were pretty noteworthy. So one was creating tension with risers. I noticed I was doing that a lot, so I figured let's talk about that. Another was emphasizing impact with hits, so I write that down. And then highlighting moments with silence. Again, I'm just writing down noteworthy things in my production that people ask to see or to hear or to explain. And then I'll just write down specific examples so I know exactly what to cover. That way, when I get into my session, I'm not sitting here fiddling around for 45 minutes, giving Miranda something super, super long and just kind of chaotic to organize and edit. So I like to write everything, you know, organized and scripted enough where it's not just a clusterfuck when I'm creating a video, but I don't want it to be scripted. Like, we don't have a teleprompter. We're not reading anything off of a script ever. It's kind of just loosely formatted like this. So we know what we're filming. We know how we're filming it. We know the order of what we're filming it. But that's basically all of the planning that happens ahead of time. On top of that, the only other things that we might do are things like a rollout prep. So we did a tutorial a couple weeks ago, how to make synth patches. I knew that we were going to give away free synth patches. So once I'm done creating the actual video for Miranda to edit, I'll go through and I'll export those presets or those samples that we're going to give away or whatever, just to make sure that by the time that video comes out on Friday, I'm not like, oh my God, the video comes out in 30 minutes and I've completely forgotten to give people their free content. I'll make notes early on in the creation process. That way I can afford myself time to remember to do those things before the video actually comes out. The other things we'll do is on the rare occasion that we have anything like B-roll or any kind of other edits or infographics or anything, I'll write down where those need to come for Miranda. That way she knows where to splice them in, where I kind of had things in mind. And typically the more organized we can be with structure and notes that I give her to edit, the easier the process is and the less revisions and the less kind of back and forth we have to go on that. Because by the time I give her the videos to edit and by the time she's kind of doing her thing, I'm already working on the next thing. I don't want to have to go check everything or answer questions. So I like to keep everything as organized as possible in a little note sheet like this. And then I'll just put extra notes for her as she edits. That's pretty much the only kind of like writing and prepping that goes into a video. We just cover topics that our audience wants to see, and we cover them in a way that our audience has kind of responded well to in the past. It was a lot of trial and error, but that's kind of what we're sticking with now. On top of that, once we have everything written and organized and planned, the next thing that we have to do is actually film the tutorial. And for this, we split this up into two parts. We have a file that's going to be the DAW video and audio. And then we have the file from our camera that is the video of me that you're seeing and the audio of me that you're hearing. So let's go ahead and let's go over the computer setup first, because that's where most people have questions about recording. So you can see I'm going to drag in OBS right now. We use OBS to do all of our screen capture software. I know it looks very chaotic in the middle. Try not to focus on that too much. We're going to be looking at all the stuff down here in the lower quadrant. OBS is free. I believe it's for Windows and Mac. We use a Windows for all of our audio stuff, and then Miranda will use a Mac for all of her editing stuff. But the Mac editing could be the same on PC because we're just using Adobe. But for the actual screen capture and audio capture, we use OBS, and the way that this works is you can just download it, add your source, and we have our source right here for the screen. Let's show properties. This is just doing an automatic capture method that just comes from the graphics card in your computer. Pretty much every computer will be able to do this, and it's just capturing the screen. I use an ultra-wide screen that's basically two monitors combined into one. Like, it's 3840 by 1080 instead of 1920 by 1080. So I know that when I'm recording, I have to keep everything on the left side of my ultra-wide screen. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to see it. So you can see me take this screen properties right here, and if I drag it, I can still see it, but you can't. And that's really important to kind of keep in mind as we're creating, because there have been times that I've done something off screen and you can't be able to see it. So then I have to go back in and I have to punch that. That's how we're getting the video. That part is very, very simple. As long as you have any kind of graphics card in your computer and you have OBS, you should be able to get your screen capture software. The important part is the audio capture software. And for that, we're using VoiceMeeter. This is also a free plugin, I believe. And if you have Mac, I think you can still use VoiceMeeter. They also have like Soundflower and a couple others. But what this is basically doing is it creates duplicate ASIO outputs that are kind of ghost outputs. I can't hear this. This is not coming back into my monitors at all. But what this does is this is going to pick up any kind of audio happening in my computer, whether that's Cubase or something on Spotify or something on YouTube. It's going to capture that audio, and right here, as long as I have this B section enabled, it's going to send that to this virtual output right here. And then what I can do is I can create a computer audio section right here, and if I open the properties for that, you can see that this device is going to be my VoiceMeeter output. So as long as VoiceMeeter is picking up audio that we want to hear, it's going to end up transferring that over to OBS. So you can hear as I hold down a chord in Cubase, it's picking this hardware input up right here, and then it's sending it out to this virtual output right here. And that right there is what's going right into OBS. And you can see that corresponding right here. So it's rather simple. It really just is that VoiceMeeter plugin that we have. And one thing that I do want to talk about is kind of how I have this set up. So We're not using A because A is direct monitoring. I don't need to monitor it because I'm still using my driver from my universal audio or whatever interface I'm using. So we just need this to send to the virtual output. That's really all it's doing there. I don't have my mic coming into here or anything like that. It's not a big deal. I'll talk about my mic in a minute. Just know that this is everything that you need for the screen and the DAW audio. And then in Cubase, I'll go ahead and show this because I know people are going to have questions. I'm still just using the universal driver right here, and I don't have literally anything changed at all. If I go right here, you can see that I still have all of my Apollo inputs that I have. And the reason that I do it like this is because even though I want that sound to transfer into OBS so you can hear everything that's happening, if you use something like the VoiceMeeter driver as your primary driver in Cubase or on your computer, I'm not going to be able to then track things in through my interface because it's going to configure everything to just be the driver of that software that we've downloaded. So make sure that if you download VoiceMeeter, you can configure it to where your main drivers are still whatever interface that you're using. It's basically just creating that ghost duplicate and sending that out to OBS. That's the important part. So that's how we're able to track everything and monitor everything and send it over, but we're not getting all of these extra delays or duplicates or feedbacks. If I was monitoring anything, I could plug my mic into the computer or plug a guitar in, and all I have to do is allow the universal audio to play it back, because as it plays it back to me in my speakers, it's also playing it through the computer, which means that VoiceMeeter will still pick that up and send that to OBS. So I'm not hearing any audio from VoiceMeeter or from OBS. I'm hearing it from my UAD drivers, but OBS is picking it up from VoiceMeeter. So it sounds very complicated. All you really need to know is download VoiceMeeter, download OBS, and then make sure that you have your computer audio configured as your VoiceMeeter output, and you should be good to go. Other than that, that's pretty much everything with the computer setup. Once we've done that, what I also do is I have the camera set up. So this is the second file that Miranda will get when she edits. And we're just using a Panasonic Lumix G7 as our camera with a Rokinon 12mm f2.0 lens. We have one little softbox light over here off to the left that's lighting me. There's nothing on the right side. I just get all my light from the computer. And then the audio that you're hearing me speak is coming from this SM7B, and it's going into this Zoom recorder right here. This is the Zoom H5. I do have a little capsule right here that's adding like 20 dB of gain because this has phantom power, so I'm able to power that little kind of like preamp capsule. And so mic coming out of XLR through that little preamp capsule that's right here, coming out of that into the Zoom H5. And then what I've done is I'm running the audio out of the Zoom H5 using a 3.5mm cable going straight into my camera preamp. So this is just going right into the microphone input of a camera, similar to how a lav mic would or one of the Rode video mics or anything like that. Just using this as an interface to convert this SM7B into a sound that the camera will be able to pick up. That is kind of what we're using this for. And the camera and the Zoom H5 are both on indefinite power, which means we're not running batteries for them. This is not battery powered. The camera's not battery powered. We have actual like AC adapters for both. So the camera will never die while we record. The Zoom will never die while we record, and that kind of prevents us from having loss of audio or loss of video 30 or 40 minutes into a really, really big, long tutorial. So that's kind of the gist of how we will record the videos. We have the video right here that you'll see at the intro, and then in the corner, we have the audio right here that you'll hear me speak, and then we have our DAW or computer video and audio for all of our tutorials. I monitor everything out loud because I like working out loud better, especially if I'm covering like mix tips or anything like that on a tutorial. So I'm hearing everything through my monitors. And now we need to talk about the editing phase, because this is also where a lot of people have questions. I see a lot of tutorials where they're working in headphones or where they'll work at really, really quiet volume so they don't have to have that audio. We don't do that. I just give Miranda a little bit more work when she gets to editing. Let's go ahead and let's go over how she's handling all of this. So she's in Premiere Pro, which you should be able to see. Let me drag OBS over here so I can still monitor myself. So we are in a blank Premiere Pro session. When Miranda's editing, she's doing this on her Mac, and she has a template that's got all of our little lower thirds animations, all of the little text bubbles that you might see. She's got that intro that we've made. She's got the outro music. She has her presets for color grading. She has her presets for editing and mixing the sound and the mic audio. She's got all of that in her template, and that's just part of her editing process. We're not going to really cover that stuff because that's really specific to our channel. But just know that if you're creating tutorials regularly, having your kind of template that you just go to every video where you've got all of your lower third stuff, you've got all of your presets for color and for sound and for dimensions, that is a huge time saver. We can do a 30-minute tutorial, and honestly, it takes Miranda under an hour sometimes to edit it. Like, she is insanely fast because she has everything down to a system. Like, she is a beast. She's editing a new course that we're doing right now, and within one day she'll edit 6 or 7 videos for that course. It is wild, and that is why having your templates and having your workflow is so important, because if you don't, you're just going to be going over and over and over doing the same stuff, wasting a ton of time. So once you're in Premiere, typically we will have the video right here that's got this, and then we have the screen cap right here that is the actual tutorial from Cubase, and again, the sound coming from VoiceMeeter and OBS. So what she does to sync them up is she's going to drag one in. We're going to keep the existing settings. She's going to drag this in as well. And so let me mute the screen audio. You'll be able to hear me, and you'll be able to see me right here. And then here is the actual video. Starting recording now. And you can sync here. So that's what I'll do. I will give her a sync point every single time. And the reason I'm doing that is because if I don't give her a specific point to sync, it is almost impossible for her to tell where we actually bring this in. So what I'll do then is I'm going to take this screen cap that we have right here. I'm going to zoom way, way in. I'm going to see where that audio starts. And then I like to turn snap off. I know she will as well. So we'll turn snap off so we can drag that back and really finesse it. And it doesn't have to be exact. It just has to be as close as possible. So right now we're within 1 frame. That is going to be basically as good as you can get. We'll turn snap back on right here. And then what she'll do is she'll go through and she will start editing and pulling out everything. So she'll delete all of this and she'll drag everything back. And so on top, we've got my video. On the bottom, we've got the screen cap. So if I turn this off, you can see screen cap. If I turn it on, you can see that. And then I'm going to unmute this. So here is kind of how she will go about editing my mic audio when the actual DAW is playing. So let's go to right here. I can see that the DAW is playing audio because I can see it on my first track, which is the screen grab. And so what Miranda will do is she'll find that spot, and then she'll just go in and actually, I made a quick little mistake. First, what she does is she will right click on it and she'll hit unlink. And then that allows her to go in and she can cut the audio, and it won't necessarily cut the video. And so basically she'll just go in, and anytime that computer is playing, she's going to cut my mic. And so it'll sound like this. The reverb. And as you can see, you can still, see me right here. Then what she does is she's going to go in and she's going to click those same dimensions. And she'll typically do this for the entire tutorial unless I'm specifically saying something. And she's going to go over here. She's going to scale me down to, I think we're doing like 25%. She can correct me on screen, but I think she does about 25%. And then she just repositions me over here. And that's how we're getting me in the corner. That's how we're getting the DAW in the background. Sometimes she'll take this DAW video and she will scale that up, or she will, crop things out like the session name if we don't really need that. But that's all just depending on what we filmed for the tutorial, where everything's kind of naturally sitting. And now you have something that feels seamless like this, where you can see my camera, you can hear my mic, and then as soon as the DAW audio and video comes in, I'm in the corner and you can only hear the DAW audio. We're not going to have that like weird doubling effect. Reverb. So there it is, completely dry. Let's go ahead and let's start looking at different reverbs that I might use. And she will typically do that throughout the entire video. It's a pretty meticulous process, but again, she's kind of got everything down to a science. And so she can kind of just zoom out on a macro level and she can see, okay, right here, this is where we've got audio. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut Austin out. He doesn't need to be there. Goodbye. And again, normally at this point, she'd probably just have the typical video all the way in the corner the entire time. And if I'm not mistaken, what she'll do is she'll go through and she'll edit everything. She'll make sure that I'm in the corner when I need to be. I'm big when I need to be. My audio's cut when it doesn't need to be there. The computer audio's cut when it doesn't need to be there. And after she's formatted everything, she'll go ahead and she will nest each layer. So she'll go right here to nest. And then now she's got my camera audio. She can go ahead and she can start coloring that. We've got my mic audio right here, so we can nest that. She can go ahead and she can turn on my mic presets, and that is typically how we'll edit the video. So Miranda will get all of the files. She'll make sure that she cuts out any duplicate sound or any, finessing that she needs to do with moving my camera around, moving the screen around, anything like that. once she gets to the end, she's going to comp everything down so she can just edit and do all the presets as one final layer. And then she does her layovers with the things like the little text animations in the bottom, the intro, the outro, all of those kind of things. And that is pretty much the process. Again, it's nothing insanely complicated. It's just really meticulous. And that is part of the reason that before she came on board, we weren't able to do tutorials every week, is because going through and setting up a 30-minute video, filming a 30-minute video, editing a 30-minute video, and then going and actually uploading that to YouTube, doing the thumbnail, doing the social media videos, it's a lot. Like for one 30-minute video, we could spend 6 hours on everything. And so, you know, having a small team to help with things like that is a huge, huge thing. So that's kind of how we handle setting up our videos, writing our videos, recording them, editing them. Other than that, I just edit all of the thumbnails in Photoshop. I'll just take the camera video where I do a couple poses, and then I will take screenshots from that, add text, do my coloring, do my finessing with, you know, dragging things around, adding layers. And that's pretty much it. But that is how we get all of our audio from the computer into Premiere Pro, how we mix that with a camera video, and that's how we make high quality tutorials every single week for you. So if you like this video, please make sure you like and subscribe. Please make sure you comment below what videos you want to see in the future. If you're going to make tutorials, let us know in the comments down below so we can check out your channel. I'm hoping this video can inspire some others to go and make really, really cool tutorials, because I find that no matter who's creating or what level they're at, I can always find something to pull out of a cool tutorial. I can find a new tool to use. I can find a new technique or method. So if you've ever wanted to create tutorials, now is the time. Just go download OBS and VoiceMeeter. They're both for free. You can film this on your phone, and you can just, you know, line everything up in Premiere Pro or iMovie, really any kind of free software. It's all going to be the same steps. Get your good quality video and audio from your computer, get your good quality video and audio from your camera, and then just take a little bit of extra time and work to chop those out in editing and make sure that everything is cohesive and flows really, really well. But that's going to do it for this video. If you liked it, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to support the channel, head over to makepopmusic.com. Other than that, we're going to see you next week with much more content. Much love. Peace.